Hello, everybody. Is everyone here for the Dunhill Spooky? Yeah, nice.
We're sorry.
So, right off the bat, we apologize. There's an issue with the mics. So we are going to be speaking this way. And then if you miss anything, you could go ahead and go back and listen to the recording, which is going to be on the Hex-Files pod, which is these two lovely people right here.
Sometime. No, end of the month.
Super nice. But my name is Jason. I'm the guy who does SpookyCLT on Instagram. I do deep dives into all things spooky about Charlotte, whether it be ghost stories, paranormal experiences people have had, fun events, just anything that, you know, makes you say, oh, that's spooky. And then you are?
Well, I'm Josh, and
I'm Tamara.
And we do Hex-Files podcast, which covers paranormal, cryptids, things like that, but then also we go investigate places like the Dunhill, and then we like record our findings and stuff for episodes. We recently went to where was it? Medoc Mountain to look for Bigfoot. We got some crazy like calls around us that was weird, but so we do all kinds of things. But tonight we are talking about, we stayed at the thank you. What? This is only one. It's supposed to be two. But this is about our stay at the Dunhill, which we did on December 20th?
28th.
Yes. So tonight I'm going to be doing a little bit of history about the Dunhill, starting from when it was built. And then we're going to talk about ghost stories that are affiliated with it, whether it be from articles we've read or people we've talked to. And then they are going to discuss and show you their findings for it.
We're going to try to show.
Yeah.
It looks like it's working. We do have some audio. We're gonna like let them know whenever we have a video going. But yeah, we did capture some things that you need to hear. So
yeah,
like one thing.
One thing.
But,
a thing.
Yes.
But it was fun. So
keep for later. So since we're in such like this intimate setting, if anyone has any questions or comments, or if you're in the crowd and you're like, I cannot wait to tell them my ghost story, this is the opportunity to do so.
Yell at us. We can hear you.
Yeah, we literally can hear you, and you can hear us, hopefully. So I'll start off with the history. The Dunhill Hotel, which is this lovely building right here. Has anyone stayed there? You stayed there? Perfect. Us too?
Do you remember what the... we stayed in one of the rooms. I don't remember the number.
You stayed in 401.
401. Okay.
I stayed in 906. Do you remember what room you stayed in? It was probably haunted. Yeah, I'm hoping. So the Dunhill Hotel was constructed during the Great Depression in the 1930s. It was originally known as Mayfair Manor and was purchased for $200,050. In 1926 by Dr. J.P. Matheson and C.N. Peeler, who were the founders of Charlotte Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat Hospital. It's still...
Are they still the ones that are like doing the eye, ear, nose, and throat? But I think they did away with the throat. I forget.
Yeah, now it's just eye and ear.
Eye and ear, okay.
Nice. Good. So, still prime real estate. If you're not familiar, it's downtown next to where Discovery Place is, across from the Charlotte Theater, which is also haunted but under construction right now. And it's close to some great bars like Re-Ra's or Prohibition.
Which Re-Ra's is like still closed?
I don't think so. They post on Instagram now, so I think they're open. Because it's mostly a restaurant, but also another haunted location. So if you are looking into this stuff, that's another place to check out. So in 1928, architect Louis Asbury Sr. was hired to begin to work on the hotel. Note that Asbury is actually the current name for the restaurant if you stayed there. He was trained by Italian craftsmen and helped create what they call cathedrals famous for soaring, elegant roof lines. And on the website, I found this really pretentious quote that I wanted to share with you, because in my notes, there was no way for me to turn this into something that wasn't douchey. But it says...
You could have tried.
I could have tried. I didn't. As Asbury began his work on the 10-story hotel, with its refined architecture and neoclassical embellishments, he envisioned that it would stand boldly as a distinctive shape against Charlotte, North Carolina skyline. An amalgam of American, British, and Italian influences, Mayfair Manor would spark the interest of those with eye for detail, recognizing the hotel's European and early American origins as Asbury intended. As the concept for the hotel developed, it soon became clear that Matheson's faith in Asbury was well justified. All of this, and this is what it comes out like.
I mean, yeah, it's still like...
I mean, that's elegance.
It's still cool.
So I disagree because that's just a rectangle.
But it is a rectangle. Like, it's like, I love how, like, square the corners are and how, like, there's, like, 10 whole floors. It's kind of the big deal.
But it's many rectangles together.
It's
Yes.
a bunch of small rectangles.
I guess
And a little triangle. Yes.
90-degree angles equal great architecture.
Right. It's geometry.
It's stunning, really.
I don't know. It's
Is there like a rooftop like access up there?
no.
No, you have to jump. Oh, wait, that comes later. But
So no, but like that balcony up there that you see is like a balcony for like the presidential suite that we'll chat about later. It's really cool up there. I got to check it out.
there's a lot of construction and right in front of it now, so it's a good view. You'll see in like some of the videos that we were in one of the little rooms over here.
Yes. So as Mayfair Manor opened to the public November 15th, 1929, at the time 100 of the rooms were condos, which is weird because if you're in Uptown, everything is just for rent. You can't really buy anything anymore. But the rest of the rooms were for hotel guests. And despite it being the Depression, newspapers praised the hotel as an architectural and social success. Mayfair Manor's original owner, Dr. Matheson, passed away August 1937, and the property was acquired by the Mayfair Realty Corporation. And then in 1959, the property was sold to Dwight L. Phillips, and renovations and improvements were ordered to for about the same price it cost. But that's how it looked originally, and so not much has changed. All the improvements that, in quotations, that they've done have been mostly on the inside.
It's still the same shape, but you've got that little building off to the side.
See,
right
I
here.
actually think that looks better.
It
Yeah.
looks better when it's a drawing. But I think it's because there's like nothing else to compare it to. It's like, I don't know what this is back here. It kind of looks like,
That's now a parking deck.
right, it's a parking deck now, which but it's like if you were living there, I'm sure if it wasn't connected to it, you'd be like, oh shit.
Well,
Yeah.
in 1929, that was probably amazing.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. So then the hotel then sold again December 1960, and it was temporarily named the James Lee Motor Inn, which really gives me like a, I don't know, NASCAR vibe. Yeah.
The Motor Inn. No, it sounds more like it's better than a motel, but it's not in its heyday.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess the tough times.
Right.
And then in December 1980, owner A.B. Wilkins declared his partnership with Charles Kinnard to convert the property to luxury condominiums. But by 81, the two partners kept fighting, called it quits, leaving the property abandoned. So looking at this, it changes ownership quite a few times. Could be a sign that it's cursed, but it also could be a sign that that's just how business happens.
Word. But like, that's still probably back here. That's probably like atrium, right? Or fucking.
That would be the Grand Bohemian now, wouldn't it? Because it's
Is
just
it?
like 2 blocks that way.
I don't know. But you can see a lot more. Let's see. What was the? Yeah. See, there's a fucking tower
Oh, that's
there.
First Tower, right?
No, isn't it across? Which one's across the street where they put the? Gonna get in
Truist
trouble with
Bank.
Charlotte. Yeah, already. But yes.
That's first. Well, that's.
Yeah, and then they put the fucking. Okay.
Anyways, the Dunhill Associates purchased the hotel in 87, so mind you, from 81 to 87, completely abandoned, no one in the hotel, and spent nearly $6 million on renovations and acquiring the adjacent storefronts, which is now the Asbury, and then reopened it in 1988 as the Dunhill Hotel, along with its restaurant, which was called Thistle at the time, and now it is owned by the Dunhill Hotel Group and Summit Hospitality, which I think is the coolest thing because in college I worked for Summit Hospitality, and like, what are the chances that the one Hampton Inn in Wilmington that I worked at was the same group that owned a haunted hotel in Charlotte? It's like destiny.
So
It's
that's
like
what
they
you.
knew.
Yes.
That's how you networked. You're like, Summit.
Yes.
I did that.
Did you still have like your badge and you were like,
Right.
I
Like-
work here?
I put on my resume, I am looking to be a general manager of a haunted hotel, and they were like, this is our guy.
Yeah.
This is our guy. So we have all stayed at the hotel, so we're going to share you some of the stories that we go along with it. If you were to Google Dunhill Hotel right now and look for ghost stories, the number one thing that would come up is during that 8-year period where it was abandoned, it's known that it was the tallest public access building in Uptown Charlotte. So oftentimes people would either go in to get to the top to commit suicide, or our homeless neighbors would find shelter in there for however long. But while they were doing renovations in '87, they found an actual intact skeleton at the bottom of the elevator shaft. They actually did the whole like forensic treatment on it, and it turns out that they found it was a elderly Caucasian male who had most likely had a limp and like a wrist abnormality. So he walked like that classic spooky zombie walk.
Right. Yeah, we actually like were looking at that while we were staying in the room. It's like, oh, let's look up some of the things, and that's when we found out about the dude in the shaft.
Ugh. Yes. So if you were to go in the hotel now, though, the elevator shaft that had the bones in it is completely different than the elevator shaft that you would go in now to get to any of your floors.
Right, because there's just the one, right? Well, I mean,
there's
there's
just
like
the one
there's
elevator
one,
shaft.
yeah, but I think there's like two.
Not that I know of.
Well, because we got like they let us. It seemed like they got permission, but they were like, "Here's a back room. We'll leave all the doors unlocked." And so like we got to go down to the bottom of what we assumed was the old shaft. I don't know. Maybe you can tell us. Yeah,
the stairwell, that
right.
spooky stairwell, was the old elevator shaft.
Yeah, there
so.
was like a bee hive down there, like the little beekeeping box.
Yeah,
and I'm
like
like,
a nightstand, chest of drawer looking.
I'm like, when did they
beehive.
have bees?
I don't know.
But anyway, it's down there. I think it's in a picture.
So then while we stayed there, we brought the romance package with the intention of like tipping them to be able to see all these haunted spots and talk to them, and hoping that they would talk to us freely. And what we found is that our bartender told us a story about how her and a few other people saw in the banquet hall a woman in like a nightgown with long black hair down to her knees, that if you like walked to her, she would disappear, or if she walked at you, also disappeared. And then our waitress told us the story about how she was taking a cigarette break out by where the valet stand is, and it was in the middle of the night. They didn't have any guests, and if they did have guests, they were already in the rooms, but she heard like a almost like a witch cackle, like a maniacal laugh coming from inside, and it was either her or the older African American valet, who definitely wouldn't laugh like a witch. So
he wasn't known to laugh like a witch. But what's weird is like when we were walking around, we heard that fucking laugh from down like where the valet section where you come in, but we were like, there's people down there, they're probably just laughing, right? But we only thought about it because you told us about that. Or you just like snuck in, you were like, I'm gonna do the witch cackle just real quick and then I'm gonna leave.
So before their stay, we actually all grabbed dinner together, and we really considered coming back and like banging on the door in the middle of the night or something.
Oh my God.
We didn't, so if it happened, it wasn't us.
Yeah, it didn't. But what's funny is like, so the banquet hall, we explored that part. I think I saw something we'll get to later, but it was something that was like, that disappeared. And I'm like, oh shit. And you're just like talking, because we're most active on our Instagram, and we did an Instagram live while we were in like some of the parts, and then you're like talking to the people on there, and I'm like, shh, something's over there, and you're like, huh? And I'm like, oh my God.
Is it the cops?
No, it's not the cops. But this was like, what, 12:30?
Yeah, it was late.
We waited till the kitchen staff, everybody left.
That's good.
But we did not get the romance package. We got the, because this was, okay, originally we were going to do caps. You were going to try to have caps out there. And then
which is the Charlotte Area Paranormal Society. We actually had this whole like ghost hunt scheduled for the 8th, and then that afternoon is when they put in the curfew. Right. So we were like, well, we're past curfew since we're ghost hunting at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Decided to not be rebels in this case.
But then we thought, why not? Worth it. We're like, why not just keep our room and like, bring everything up and see. So we did grab dinner. We sat at the bar, and then you're just like, there was somebody sitting at the end. You're like, have you seen any ghosts here? Do you know this hotel's haunted? And
that's how you know I've been drinking.
Right. And then she was like, what? You're kidding.
And her face.
Right.
She did
not know it was haunted. I don't know what room she stayed in, but we saw them leave the next day. They didn't seem scared, but we don't ask people that right away. But we did talk to the manager. What's her name? Sabrina. But she was very nice, and she's like, I'll show you around, or I'll have somebody else show you around. And
yeah.
I respect your hard sell on the ghost story though. That's like
Right.
directness. I appreciate that.
It's a habit.
Yeah.
So, and then one last thing. When I started the SpookyCLT account on Instagram, one of the first times that I posted about the Dunhill, just saying that it has a paranormal history, a woman went out of her way to send me a DM about it, and I'm going to read what it says. She said, back in 2003, when I worked there as an operations manager, some weird stuff happened. For example, whenever I worked the front desk, room 401 would always call me. I would call it back and someone would answer it and no one would be checked into the room. I would send maintenance to check it out and the phone would always be working. I would never go into the basement unless I was with someone. It creeped me out that bad. Lights would go off and on all the time. It's been so long I can't remember everything, but that place creeped me out so bad I only stayed there 7 months. It is definitely haunted.
And that's the room we stayed in.
Yeah, so
Which we actually called because the people staying beside us, there was like a Panthers game on. Pretty sure it was one they lost. And they were like drunk and cheering and stuff. And we're like, how are we going to investigate? How are we going to investigate ghosts coming up here? And
You're scaring off all the ghosts.
yeah. But then we were like, oh, if we call the front desk, are they going to freak out? Like, oh shit, no wait, somebody is staying in there. And but no, we did not. We just called and asked them, like, can we book this room? And then they were like, well, that room you were talking about that you stayed in, we were going to do that one. But then we're like, we'll wait and do it when we. Well, then in the big investigation, you're trying to get everybody like in the room
to be able to get access to
hopefully, you know, COVID will slow down and we'll get to do it. Yeah, get your vaccinations.
So 906 is like the most historically haunted room. You'll find that online, but there's no really reason why it is. So I asked the staff and I got 2 different stories from 2 different staff members. The first one is they think it's haunted because every Canada Day, so July 1st, a family would come down from Canada and request to stay in that room. And a few years after, you know, they saw the pattern of it, they asked why, and they said, well, our mother died in that room, and this is how we feel close to her, which is weird. Or nice, I guess.
Yeah.
And then another person said that, actually when I called ahead to make the reservation, she said that just a month ago, a woman came just loitering into the lobby, was looking around, and told the staff a similar story that she just found out who her real mother was. She found out that the mother had died in the hotel, and she found out that the mother had died in room 906. So the hotel is finding all these people who have died in the room. Not all of them were suicides. Some of them were. I've worked in hotels myself, so I can tell you that's actually pretty common, unfortunately, of people killing themselves in hotels. Sorry. But here we are. I was constantly seeing room 906 over and over again. My wife and I, we stayed there right after our wedding to see if
gone.
I know. To see if we felt anything in that room, and it was actually the day that they called Biden, you know, they announced that he was going to be president, so we drank pretty heavily, and any paranormal activity that happened was not...
They're like, man, these fuckers are passed out. Like, we're not even going to touch them.
Yeah, so...
They were like lifting your lip like
Right.
you do a sleeping dog.
They're like, you have a Sharpie? I'm going to drop that motherfucker.
So the staff asked us the next day if we experienced anything, and we were like, we honestly don't remember much after dinner, so...
But that happened to us. We stayed at a Green Park Inn in Blowing Rock.
Yes.
And we got a little drunk because we were trying to because they did not want ghost hunters there. And they were like, you'll be disappointed. So we're like low key trying to ask like the bartender, like, you ever see any ghosts? And it took 7 drinks to get to that point. So we thought, and then like we passed out. We're like, man, nothing probably happened. There probably so much shit happened while we were passed out drunk. But you know.
Yeah. So rule 1 of ghost hunting is don't do it drunk.
Right.
No, do it a little drunk,
Right.
not all the way drunk.
We do the podcast drunk, so that's fine. But you don't want to actually do anything serious.
The actual
Drunk,
homework of
yes.
it.
Yeah, you don't want to do the
sober.
research, but
I mean, alcohol is a good tool if you
Yeah.
use it like that.
Ellen,
Right.
did you have a question? Did I see your hand go up?
No, I was just like, she said, get vaccinated. And I was like,
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha.
My birthday's
Yeah.
next week, y'all.
Yes.
yeah, we did first rounds. We've already got our first rounds. We're still here. I think that's a fake one. The second one's the one that they get you with. No,
Powers haven't come in yet.
No
but when my
superpowers, no
powers
chips.
Come, I'll let you know.
But so we I had never been in that hotel. I always knew like, oh, it's haunted, it's historic. And then we were like, why don't we just fucking stay there? And then it was after you mentioned something, I was like, oh shit, we always wanted to stay there. And you're like, well, we're going to, and then we're going to try to have this and that. So that kind of just how this all ended up. And then we're like, well, let's have you on for an episode about it. And you're like, let's do it live at Petty Thieves Brewery. And we're like, sure, why not? That's not...
I get excited.
Yeah.
I love for people to see my face.
Right. Yeah. That's why you do a podcast. You don't want people to see you. But no, so what did we do? We went and checked out a graveyard with you guys on Remount. But then, yeah. Which is what is it called?
The Schumann Cemetery.
Schumann Cemetery. Which, if you saw it in South End, has like the white picket fence up now because you got that going. But it looked like they did ground penetrating radar now.
They did.
Yeah.
I thought I tagged you. I confirmed it with the guy who led the project.
You probably did.
But if you're familiar with South End, on the corner of Youngblood and Remount, there is these few plots of gravestones. Not like the typical gravestone RIP, but it was like a rectangular outline of stone on the ground. And the news kept reporting that it was a slave cemetery because there's no headstones. Every few years they tell the same story, that there's a slave cemetery on the corner of Youngblood or Remount that these shiny new apartments are going next to, and they keep finding like dog poop there. No one knows it's there, disrespecting it. So me and a group of other people, we looked into it, and we actually were able to find the family that was buried there. And it turns out that the news had the story completely wrong. They must not have even Googled it, because I had to find a gravesite. It wasn't that hard, but it turns out that the Schumann family, who were roofers, so they definitely didn't have any slaves, and the first person that was buried there was in like the 1870s, so it wouldn't have even been during that time. But we organized this thing to put up a white picket fence around the gravesite so people would stop taking their dogs there and tossing the poop. And the family actually came out, because they're still local. They came out and they helped us put up the fence. So if you're ever in South End and you're looking for something spooky-ish,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, but you did
kind
that.
of demystified it.
Right. So you don't just Google things, you do stuff.
Yeah. Queen City Nerve did a good piece on it.
But all that to say is, like, that's how I originally connected with you on Instagram. I was like, oh, like, this is really cool that you're trying to get, like, the fences up. And then from there we started talking about, oh, let's look into this, or do you know about this? Mm-hmm. And this came, like, not long after. So that was the first time we had met. And then I'm glad you guys didn't try to come fuck with us after you left. No, we didn't have the romance package. Like, nobody was paying for that.
Well, it also came with champagne, chocolate covered strawberries.
You upgraded it to something, so we had like this
dozen roses.
We had like a bottle of wine, but then they didn't have the cork opener. So I opened it with like a knife, and I'm like, but I could have just called them. But anyway, we were already like drinking, and we're like, let's do this. So we left you guys, and then we went back here, and that's when we had him give us the tour.
Yes.
And I think, I took that out. That's where I was smoking out there by the valet, and I did not hear any witch cackles.
See, like that's architecture. That's like a straight
Prison. It's just like a prison.
It's a prison. This is prison architecture.
Like, you can't look at that and be like, oh wow, Italian neo-realism.
This is down there. It's like a case of stuff. I can zoom in. There's brushes.
Yes, they definitely honor their heritage. You can find this stuff in the lobby.
Yeah, and you can walk in. You don't even have to have a room there. I think you can just walk in, poke around.
The 10th floor.
Well, that's true.
Think about how crappy your day was.
Let's not do that. But okay, so let me shrink this. But this was a weird thing here. I went. Jesus. This is the same. There's nutcrackers and shit. Because it was Christmas.
It was, yeah. That's not always there.
Right. Funny story about the Nutcracker now. But when I walked back, it was like, was it the only night we stayed there?
Yes.
And I was like, I went to smoke after we did everything and put everything away. And I smelled the strongest perfume down there. And now I'm starting to think, okay, well maybe somebody that works there, an employee, had very strong perfume. There were people checking in really late. But it was a very like old lady like rose perfume. I was making sure like nobody was like offended.
Old lady. Nope. Don't see any.
But no, it's the rose perfume, and I'm like, God, it's it's
Continue.
yes. But I was like, oh, that's very strong, and like filling the whole room. And then I went up the elevator. I was like, oh my God, like I smelled perfume down there. But actually, is it a thing? And I've been in locations that are supposedly haunted that do have those like smells, but it's hard to tell because like it is the area where people are coming and going the most.
That's true.
But yeah, it didn't smell good, but it smelled old. Like rose,
Like 1930s old?
right. But you know, that
Like
could be,
toilet water old.
yes, like roses. So that's a picture of a room that we thought we were allowed to go in.
That's the banquet hall.
Okay.
One of them.
This isn't the room, but so what we did was like,
Yeah, can you tell us about what equipment you have and what you're using?
yeah. So we've got, they're over there, but we've got like an infrared and IR camera, so it sees in the dark if you have the IR lights. So you can turn off all the lights, and it kind of looks like purple through the screen. It's like a full spectrum, so it sees infrared and all that. The idea behind that is that it'll pick up different wavelengths of spirits and whatever might, you know, ultraviolet. It picks that up, things like that.
See with our human eyes.
Our human eyes, yeah. And then we have a FLIR camera, which is, there'll be some images on here from that. It attaches to the iPhone, but it's like a thermal imaging, so it picks up temperature differences.
Cold spots, things like that.
Right. That was weird because we have a haunted doll, which you can listen to on a episode of ours, and like our Instagram, we have photos of this doll. But she's, at one point when we like did a session with her, she was actually warm, and she'd just been sitting like by herself, like nothing was touching her. So it's a cool little device, and like something where if you touch this, it would show warm, like immediately. So
Like
it's
your
very
handprint,
sensitive.
A very defined
Right.
handprint would remain.
I think if you watch any ghost shows or shit like that, like they use FLIRs all the time. And this one just attaches to the iPhone, so it's nice and handy. But this is the area that we started with. Actually, I think the next picture, so that's what the FLIR image looks like. You can see the lights were on at a time and they had been turned off, so they were still warm. Or were they dim? I don't remember. But they were warmer, obviously, than everything else. You could see where the windows are, it's colder. And then, you know, it just kind of shows that. So we went in there and we were like, well, let's do some EVPs. So we have a digital recorder for that. And that's just where, you know, you ask questions. And again, that's like made famous by ghost shows, is you listen back and it picks up things that maybe a human ear can't decipher.
That
So
you don't process at the time.
right.
Yeah.
So we set one of those out. We were asking questions and shit. And this is by the window. This is the iPhone like delay for dim light, so that's why it's blurry. That's not a
What's that
not a
green
ghost.
Man. Slimer from Ghostbusters.
Right. If only.
And I'm taking his picture.
Right. So we're back there and we're like, let's go ahead and start in like one of these rooms that nobody's been in. They said during COVID, like they don't use these rooms. They used to do like continental breakfasts and shit like this.
Also, the Dunhill Hotel, it's now closed during the week. So they're only open from like Thursday night until Sunday morning. So if you're looking to support a local business, like they count, check them out on the weekends. They have a cool bar.
Yeah,
We're
go,
locals there.
yeah, you could just go
now.
eat there.
And their staff is amazing.
They are really good. They are really good.
They show you where people have died. So
yeah, they'll point out where people died and things like this. So this, if the audio, this is
the moment everyone's been waiting for.
Right.
Proof of the afterlife.
Well, near proof.
Definitive.
This is it. We did it. But this was on our Instagram Live, and this was we were looking at something, and we've got the EMF reader, which detects like changes in the electromagnetic, like they're good for your microwave will set it off, your oven, your refrigerator, things like that. But people use them to detect like
energy differences and
people are afraid of it. Yes.
In electromagnetic fields.
if it's good enough for Ghost Adventures, it's good enough for us.
It's good enough for us. Yes, if Zach Baggins uses it. But so I put it on this radiator / vent, which is why it was beeping. But then I hear these footsteps come up, and I'm like, okay, somebody hears us in here, and we're gonna have to explain. And I see this shadow come to the frosted glass, and I was like, okay, stop. Like, they're going to open the door. And then it just kind of disappeared. And I was like, wait, I didn't hear any other footsteps going back. I didn't hear anything. But what you caught was my reaction to it and you not paying attention.
No. I was investigating.
Right. So let's see if it works.
Ooh.
And you heard that?
What?
Like that thud?
Oh, that wasn't picking it up?
No, so there's this thud, and that's like, to me it sounded like footsteps. But when I watch this back, it's like this weird... Anyway, it was a thing. Because I was like trying to shut it up. Not paying attention. But this right here is where there was like a figure, and then it just kind of dissipated. And I feel like you could see shit move, but...
And it was a live stream, and one of the people that were watching was like, what was in that corner? Which is funny that happened at the same time, basically,
Right.
that you saw an apparition.
Yeah, so basically all you see is my reaction to be like, wait, because I was trying to shut the thing off because I'm like, somebody's either coming or what did you do? I'm glad we're not paying you. But so we were like, oh, well, somebody's coming in here and they heard us and they're probably like, who's fucking around in here?
Because my job when I go to a hotel is to open every door and drawer.
You were going through every drawer and I'm like, stop. Just leave it alone. You're like, they want you to do this. I'm like, no, they don't.
100% of the doors you don't try to open are closed.
True.
Like, you have to open.
There could have been a ghost in that drawer.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I was sad because I was like, oh, did you catch that? And you're like, no, I didn't even see it. But I'm like, you heard the footsteps, I thought. Because I was like, somebody's coming, like, shut up. And nobody was there. And then like later in that video, we go to the door and like open it up and there's like nobody down there. We waited for the kitchen staff to leave because in that room, obviously they're made for continental breakfasts and stuff. The kitchen is like right below it, so you can just hear dishes and the dishwasher and all that. So we're like, well, we're gonna wait for them to leave. So there was like nobody back there. So we're just like wandering around. And this was the stairwell we talked about, where I think, shouldn't the body be like...
Yeah, so this stairwell is what used to be the elevator shaft that they found the skeleton while under renovations.
Right.
So like literally right there.
Right. So this is like looking down from like... And we went all the way down there. So I didn't leave in the...
Is that the hay video?
Yeah. So I didn't leave in the bird house. The beekeeping house, but it's in there because there was a
Just trust us. They have beehives.
They have honey down there. Go get it. And so this we actually caught, and I didn't think till after. We were walking in this room, and it was like a creepy vibe. And they explained to us that at a certain time, I think it was maybe before it used to be a brothel.
In the 70s.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
News to me.
And he said, so there's 100 rooms in the hotel. And there only opened 60 of them when it changed, I guess, to the like apartment thing. So I guess the people at the time, they had like exits to every street. He was like, there's hidden passages and stuff. So we were like, let's go find them. So we're like walking back here, and you stopped me and you're like, did you hear that voice? And I'm like, no. And I did not hear a single fucking thing. And you're describing it to me, and I'm like, wait, we were recording that. Let me go back and listen. And like. So I'm going to let you guys hear this first before we say it, but this is where we hear a voice. After we talk. You did? So I don't know how well that comes through.
I heard it.
But if you listen, when we start walking in, and I was like, if I just heard this video, I would think it was the floor creaking. It says, hey.
Yeah.
But you heard like a voice coming from like across the way. And I'm like, I didn't hear anything. Which is common. Sometimes people hear and feel things that other people on the investigate. Jesus Christ. I'm glad we're not a YouTube channel or anything. But no. So if you listen, you'll start hearing the wood creak, and then you'll hear that possible voice.
It's like a bouncy.
Yeah, it's like right after the thud.
I see some eyes widening.
And I've listened to it 100 times, and sometimes I listen, I'm like, it's just the wood, and the other times I'm like, oh shit. And so we sent it to a bunch of people, and they were like, I don't know, but it does sound like a voice. But I was like, you heard, like you said, it sounded like a gentleman's voice.
Yeah.
But to me, this sounds kind of like a
gentle man's voice.
To me, this sounds almost like a kid, but I can see it. But so yeah. And then you react to it. You're like, I just heard a hey, and I'm like, it was not. To me, it wasn't the wood creaking, because I was like, oh, that would have just been. But then after this, we were like fucking around and like, was that the door? But the door had like shut.
Well, when I hear wood creaking or doors shutting, I don't get like full body chills and all my hair stand up. So it felt different.
And I didn't hear it, so I assumed that, this was something you heard that I didn't. And I was hearing the wood creaking because it's like you're trying to be quiet, not to scare any ghosts
like a
away.
full-on Scooby-Doo sneak, you know?
Right. Now this was from that room we were doing, like that's the EMF meter we have, and we did not get any EVPs in there. We didn't get. We listened back to all of the audio that we did. We didn't hear anything, nothing static, nothing that sounded like it would be like, oh, this could be something if we stretched, like, because we typically throw that out. Like, we're not orbs people. We're like, orbs are just dust. Unless you see them like do something weird and then something happens. It's like,
on that one.
Okay. But for the most part, like if we listen to every little thing. But yeah, that hay was like a little bit too weird to leave out there. Now this is like the back side. This actually, if you go to the left, if you're looking in that direction, that's where the stairwell is. Because we're like, what's behind this door? And we opened it and the stairwell was back there.
Is that the wine reception room?
No.
Oh.
No, yeah, it was. Because right after this, we started hearing a phone ring. And this was like almost 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh shit, it's a phone ringing, like, but where's it coming from? And who's calling at 1 a.m.? People have cell phones now. Like, what? I don't understand.
We're calling about your car's
Oh,
extended
this is
warranty.
Yes. Or like, hello, fellow light worker. Getting a lot of those on Instagram.
So some context to this video. This is actually one of ours from when we stayed, but like I said, that night we were drunk and we went floor by floor looking for ghosts.
We also went floor by floor,
Yeah.
and we're like,
But like
Shit.
with it just being our wedding, we hadn't put any money into investing in ghost hunting equipment, so all we had is this little Boy Scout compass and a thermometer.
so you mean to tell me you just had a wedding and you didn't buy all this equipment? Like, were you not registered anywhere?
So-
like Ghost Stop or something?
Yeah. But anyway, so we went to the floor with our compass and we did find something weird, which we'll show to you now. I hope there's no audio to this.
That's audio you're hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. Alright, look at this.
What room was that?
It's 1001. So for whatever reason, Compass was like really attracted to this one room. And you can see like the fire puller thing or whatever, but when we tried putting the compass to other ones and it didn't react the same, it didn't react the same to the locks. It was just only this one floor in this one room, and north would have been kind of where it is pointed there, that direction. But you can see it goes with the door.
Yeah, it stays like pointing to it.
Yeah.
Was anybody staying in there? Could you?
No idea.
Find out?
If
Did
they
you
did,
knock
they were
on
probably terrified. It was on the 10th floor.
They got the ghost package. They didn't buy it. They just got it.
So we went up like the elevator, like when nobody was around, and we like went up to every floor, and we're like, oh, this is that room, and we're like, people were staying because they had their like food out, after room service, and but we were like, we don't want to be like the creepers, like they were sneaking around the halls, but we also
don't
wanted
want
to be
that, but we will be.
There was one floor where we actually got an EMF hit. That's the only thing we brought, because like I was like, oh, it's just in my pocket,
Yeah.
We're here looking for gas leaks or something,
I'm in a very official business. I've been drinking.
Right. So this is where we hear the phone ring, and there was an office down at the end of the hall, but like, why would anybody be calling the head of catering, the catering supervisor at midnight at 1 a.m.? Unless they're like,
Unless
God,
it was a ghost. Yeah,
right.
we get it.
I need breakfast catered now.
Do you know how many ghosts are here?
You can't even really hear the phone ring. Let's see.
Was there really a phone?
You can hear it. It's like the last ring.
Nope.
Yeah.
In my head, it was one of those like old-timey, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello?
When we make this into a movie, it'll be one of those
Yeah. Right.
phones for sure. Or like a payphone.
Like where you dial. You have to dial the number. But this is across from like where I saw the figure. Would have been on the other side of those doors.
$50 to anyone who sees a ghost in this video.
I see one and you
I
can't
see an
hear
orb.
it.
I see an orb. I was like, we do actually move in this. Okay. I was like, why did I even add this one? But it was ringing for what? A few minutes by the
Yeah.
time we got out of the room and like got the camera set up. Nobody.
I've watched too many YouTube videos. I'm like full out expecting to see
Like
like
a jump
little
scare?
girl or something.
Oh, well,
Hi.
so then it was time to go back to the room, and this is some of the stuff we use. So we have this old Ouija board, which I think is dated from the 1910 to 1920s. Off eBay, somebody was like, I found this in an attic, like hidden behind the wall, something like that, you know, one of those stories. But then we've got the digital recorder. Does the little mouse show up there?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the little infrared camera. It's like a Wish.com fucking GoPro. And then we've got the FLIR camera. This is our spirit box, which we've upgraded, but it's the same style. And what that does is it searches radio stations really quick where you don't actually hear things, but then the idea is that spirits will manipulate those frequencies using words. And with our haunted doll, we've checked out a couple places. We use something called the Estes method, which was done by, if anybody's ever seen Hellier or Kindred Spirits, that's where that thing where it comes. You put the isolation headphones on, you put a blindfold on, and then somebody asks questions, and then the person just spouts out whatever they hear. So there's you lose that, like, I know what questions you're asking. I know what, because when you're saying things that you hear, it sounds like nonsense.
Yeah.
And then every time you're done, you're like, did that line up? You're like,
It's always like,
oh god, it fucking did. And then this is our EMF meter. But we did a Ouija board session because tell us the story. Didn't you say that room somebody had tried a Ouija board in 90?
Oh yeah.
Is
So
it 906?
once again, 906. Yeah, it was right after the Oddities and Curiosities Festival. Someone had just bought a Ouija board, brought it into the hotel, came downstairs the next morning, telling the whole staff like, "Holy shit."
That's what you do. You take your brand new Ouija board.
Yes.
Don't do nothing to it. Just throw it into a haunted room.
Exactly.
See what it does.
See what happens.
We do have a Fisher Price. No, we have like the glow in the dark Ouija board.
Yeah, we got that one.
We thought this one was more. Yeah, but the glow in the dark, it's fun.
Haven't broken it in yet though.
Okay, so we didn't actually get coherent answers on the Ouija board, but it was fucking active, like more than like any time I've used it, to the point where it felt like a commercial. I'm like, you're moving this, right? And you're like, no, you're
moving it.
right.
I'm not even touching it.
Right. So this was like a 20-minute session.
I've been dead for 10 years.
And so this is just a clip because I wasn't gonna put the whole 20 minutes in here of us playing with the Ouija board, but
Especially if you're not spelling stuff.
You can use this planchette and
I hope it sounds better out there.
And you use these before the gift. That's what we're gonna do. So, and we'll just hear you talk.
for some reason when you ghost hunt, you always whisper.
Ooh.
Probably just nothing.
Did you see something?
Okay. So see the here.
So this thing just started fucking moving. Does Brad have a thing for me?
Okay. What's your name?
Is Jimmy gonna ask me to prom?
Yeah. So we asked his name.
And it's just like, no.
Now, boundaries.
Do you have any idea what time it is?
Bitch, I was sleeping.
You're the famous Ouija board. Demon. Zozo. Isn't it Zozo or something?
So who knows the famous Ouija board demon?
Yeah,
Zozo? Yeah, okay.
Nobody told me about that.
Right. So like, did we put goodbye? We'll figure it out later. But like,
that poor hotel room.
so
Some business guy staying there and getting books thrown at him.
right. So I'm like, don't do that.
You're the famous Ouija board. Demon. Zozo. Isn't it Zozo or something?
Oh no.
But she's still going for it.
Yeah, for science.
I don't know what it is.
It did a lot of this. It did a lot of going off the board. And then it picked some numbers later, but
Zo. Zoe. It went to Zio.
That's the type of thing you bring up before.
Right.
I just thought you knew.
You do have a podcast.
I'll take.
That
She
makes,
said,
that
"Is
makes
it-"
you an expert.
She said, "Is this like TV or is it real?" And I'm like, "It's real enough."
Think of like this. Led Zeppelin album.
And Led Zeppelin.
So bad. If you look at the same stuff too, they didn't know it.
So then you just, you go right back into it.
Yeah.
Put it back on, but Zo.
I feel like it did go to,
Zio. Okay. Alright. That shit was moving so fast.
it did go to a few more letters, but like nothing that like that formed a word. But I do feel like it went to like Z and shit again.
Yeah.
So this is from the room. This is from like the FLIR camera. Now we were trying to figure out why this chair was warm. I had been sitting in it earlier, but with like the headphones and stuff. But then after we got everything set, what we did was like 20 minutes on the Ouija board. We had the audio recorder going the whole time, and then I sat down and did like the headphones and the spirit box, which you heard a name that was like, I said a name or something, and then you heard like the TV pop or something, which,
Yes.
I mean, I don't know, it could have just moved, but
And it was strange because I heard two names that were sort of significant to me of people that had passed, and I was a little shaken by that, a little unnerved, but the TV popping has always been like kind of a thing, like when you hear those weird
Right.
pops in the hallway or in the kitchen.
yeah.
It's
But then like I had moved, and so we tried to look for like, okay, is the vent blowing and like warming up this area? And so I can't rule out that it was still residual heat. It did seem a little bit weird. I mean, it still says 65. Like when you touch something, it's going to be more, towards 80 after it's like, cooling down. But
And it would be a butt print. Let's just be honest. Like it would be a
Right.
human print.
yeah, I didn't like sit in the whole chair and like, and to me, I know it's just the thing, but I'm like, why does it look like there's like something like there?
It does kind of look like it's running up towards something.
But then I also feel like that's part of,
We're actively looking for ghosts. So.
right.
Yeah.
But I dismissed it. I didn't try too hard. But it was a little weird that was the only thing that was like kind of hot in that area. But nothing like really to like write home about. And then like to finish out the photo slide. This is,
So
you took this picture.
Yeah,
This is theirs.
This is from that presidential suite we talked about before. Looking over the right-hand side, those are the like the HVAC vents or whatever, and where you see, I put the mouse like on the brown, where that rust accumulates, you can clearly see a dent from where someone had landed, I guess.
Fell on it.
So, and this was taken last year, so it's still there.
So we didn't have a window, so we were like, oh my god, they told us about this. And so what we did, I was like, in the morning, I'm going to the top of the parking deck that's back
That's
there,
where we took that from. Okay.
and I'm gonna take this video. And I did.
Yeah.
So that's supposedly one of the dents, because this was the highest building accessible to
Look at that architecture. Just
at a time.
so flat.
And people
So great.
would come here to jump off. And we were told by our friends at Spooky Charlotte that you could see dents in the vents if you knew what you were looking for. Especially that one.
That's it's got a shape.
that has a puddle.
It's a
Yeah.
puddle.
Yeah.
Right.
Nature didn't do
Um,
that.
So
Nature did do that, but
that's,
yes.
that's history out in the wild.
So this is on top of the
The Asbury.
yes.
I hope I'm saying that right.
And
Asbury?
Asbury.
we were I didn't include that video, but if you go to our Instagram, you can watch like our like whole like walkthrough. We were in like somebody's construction, like it looks like they had like leased
They
it
would
out.
lock any doors.
No, there were not any doors that we couldn't get in. But we walked up all these and we were like, oh my god, where do these doors go? One was a break room and one was a bathroom, and we're like, fuck it. That's not
Somebody's office.
office, yes. And then we went, and it was like the stairs that lead to the street. So if you're walking down the street beside the restaurant,
Okay.
there's a door to the street, and like that's the stairs we were up. And like we heard voices. I don't know who was talking. I would imagine that there were other offices around there. We didn't like read too much into that, but there's a chance that that was like, you know, disembodied voices.
There's always the chance.
Right. And so when we were walking back out, there's this thud, and we react to it on the video in the wall, and I was like, shit. And then we're walking back and forth, and then it's like, oh, there's a floorboard that's like tweaking it
Oh, yeah.
to like make a thud, but it sounded like somebody had like banged on the wall as we walked
Yes.
by. So we do try to like, you know, rule things out when
Yeah.
we're going through.
It's nice to debunk yourself.
Not everything is a ghost.
Yeah.
Not everything is a ghost. I don't know what makes those dents in there, other than
A humanoid figure.
a humanoid figure. So I don't know, like, so like you were saying, that's all of our pictures. We'll let you look at this one. So when we were there, we had asked somebody who said she had just started working, and she was like, I don't go back to like the banquet halls, right? She's like, I don't go up there. I get this weird feeling. I just don't do it. And that was, I think, about the only story. And then like the next morning we had breakfast, and they were like, did you find anything? And we're like, maybe. But yeah, other than those couple things, which I mean, I've never seen like a full apparition that I know of. And that was just creepy to hear the footsteps and to see the figure kind of form on the other side of the thing, and just think any minute now that door's gonna open, there's gonna be somebody in like the vest, I forget what they wear, and they're gonna be like, what are you guys doing in here?
And I'm gonna have to be like, my heavens, it appears I am
Right.
lost.
Yes, we're looking for the breakfast, the continental breakfast. But no, it was weird because then there was no footsteps away, and it kind of dissipated, and then you heard that voice. And those are about the only things, other than the Ouija board kind of like acting weird. And then we thought, well, when we go to sleep, maybe we'll hear something. Nothing like that happened.
Turns out we were drunk.
We weren't drunk. We weren't too drunk. We weren't Spooky Charlotte drunk. But so that was our investigation there, our first one, because we do want to go back and we want to try other rooms. Am I leaving anything out that happened?
So long story short is the Dunhill haunted? Yes or no? Our findings are inconclusive.
Yes.
But does anyone here think the Dunhill is haunted? Raise your hand. We're gonna have to try harder next time.
Right.
It's like
Now you have
Now
to
you
stay
have to
there.
see
yeah.
for yourself.
You've got
Exactly.
local business coming in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're
Well-
so open to it. Like
Yeah.
they love their home.
Yeah, and you could just go. I mean,
open.
we would have hung out at the bar longer if we didn't have a curfew. But I think you could just like go in there and like they'll tell you.
You can.
They'll ask stories, and they were very eager to like show us around. And we're like, could we get a? They're like, yeah, I'll have somebody show you around. And then we found a guy later we're like, Sabrina said you would show us around. He was like, yeah, let me show you. And I was like, so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me bring you back into this
Right.
dark room where no one's gonna find you.
Yeah. Did you guys want to see the safe where we keep that? No. There. Yeah.
A
But
lot of places are not.
Let me bring you to the
forthcoming.
stairwell where the other dead bodies are.
right when we called to book a room, like, so if you Google certain hotels, you'll find that there's rooms that are haunted, and like people usually give their numbers. And when we stayed at the Green Park, we asked for those numbers, and they were like, okay, we know what you're doing.
What's the big idea?
Right. And we're like, what?
The
No.
ERC.
Meddling
No.
kids and their dog.
Right. And they're like, you will be disappointed if you're coming here looking for ghosts. But this one is so different.
Turns
'cause-
out
Yeah.
we were disappointed in general.
Right. Yeah, do you not dust in here? It was right after like
There's orbs in all these cameras.
Right.
There's orbs in my mouth. Like,
There's orbs in my mouth. But no, it's actually a
Wait,
nice
Put your mouse there.
right where?
Right there.
This one?
Yeah,
Is
so
that 906?
that's the window for 906. So if you're driving like down Tryon and you look up and you see something spooky in that window,
It might be Jason
It
in the
might be me.
romance package.
yes, I'll be
Who
wearing a
didn't
white
close
robe.
who didn't close the blinds.
Bare chested with a white robe, looking out, drinking a bottle of champagne.
Right here?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, zoom in.
Right.
Computer enhanced.
Right. I think that's as enhanced as it gets.
Yeah, and also the one facing outward.
Yeah.
Right here.
On that same one.
So
906.
and so 401, this is like what? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think ours was this one.
Yeah.
It's the other square on the back of the square.
that's architecture.
And those aren't just the only two haunted rooms. When we're talking to staff, we actually found out from the bartender that there's a few rooms like 401 where they'll get random calls and someone will pick up the phone, but there'll be no one in that room. So spooky.
Did me closing this like fuck up the recording?
I think so.
But anyway,
Do you guys have anything else?
no, that's it. Now, do you? I think it's still working. Yeah, it fucking works. Maybe. If not,
Golden.
we'll be like, oh, it's like a Patreon exclusive that we lost. So we had like 2 people that stayed there.
Yes, that gentleman back there stayed there.
Okay. So if when you eventually we get caps out there, like, are you interested enough to like go investigate on scene?
Yeah.
I'm going tonight.
You're going tonight?
You're staying at the Dunhill tonight?
But I'll go there.
Oh, nice.
No.
Oh, there you go.
You live at the Dunhill? No. Yeah. Just pop
Sir, Are
in.
you alive?
Yes.
Wait, what if we like look out and he's gone and it's like, oh no, he was not there the whole time. But so there was one that I looked up. Is it Dusty?
Dusty is.
Can you tell us about?
Well, so Dusty's kind of like the name that they gave all, like, kind of like the overarching. If something is missing, something falls off.
Oh, okay.
anything,
So it wasn't
they'll give
one-
it the name like Dusty, but like there have also been people who have, and I say people. I read it in an article that they'll see a guy in a bellhop walking with his, limping, wrist thing.
Wait, what?
Exactly. So the only thing is I've only seen that one place. All of these other stories I've heard it from multiple people.
What do you think? Somebody combined those stories, like the skeleton with the bellhop, to make it seem like it was more relevant? Because
That might have been me by accident.
That is how you make a good story.
That is how you make
are
a
you
good
making up
story.
these stories? Are
I'm
you making
not,
this harder
I
on
promise.
us?
That's
No,
why I brought my screenshots. So
Right. But no, we appreciate you setting this up. We appreciate Petty Thieves. He's somewhere. Yeah, we were gonna do this anyway, and it would have sounded just like this. But we appreciate you all listening.
does anyone have any questions?
Right.
Like about ghost hunting or Charlotte stories or
Yeah, direct Charlotte history
Bridget?
that
What's
way.
your question?
So the video where you were showing the frosted glass,
Uh huh.
could you go back to that video right when
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's easy to do.
I feel like I might have seen something.
Well, okay, so when I look at this, I looked at it a bunch of times by myself to be like,
So you probably saw everything that I don't know.
but it does look like there's like stuff moving on the other side, right?
There.
Okay.
On the other side.
I don't want to be that person that like looks at their own shit and is like, y'all see that? Y'all see that?
That's what I hate about ghost shows. They're always like, holy fucking shit.
I think it'll like, will this work?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily.
So that's looking at Tryon, like the construction there is the Carolina Theater.
Yeah, so that's.
Is this close to the Settlers Cemetery?
Settlers is on the backside.
Okay.
I don't think I think he killed it,
Oh,
but
he might have.
at the same time, you
But you were looking for video anyways.
Yeah, I heard the thud. In the corner.
It kind of looks like someone's shoulder.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, I still see it
That
though.
was like someone walked past. Did you see?
Like in the mirror on the left hand side.
yeah, and there's nothing
We're all seeing nothing else. Yeah.
We're all exchanging. Did you see that?
because there's like some stuff stacked on the other side, but like but this is where
On that mirror
The
right
tiny
there, right?
little, yeah, the mirror I saw. Oh,
Right
maybe
here?
that was you. Maybe that is mirror.
Well, bring it back just a little bit more to the left. Of where
Computer
your
and
hand is
hands.
back.
right.
So when you come into the frame of the mirror to the left, not to the right side, right about
There.
There, when you see that part of the frame,
Yeah. Maybe that's just the side of the.
like it might just it looks like it's the arch of the doorway. Yeah.
I guess we'll never know.
Right. But no, the figure was on
I
this
love
side.
it though. We have to
Yeah.
debunk. We have to debunk because when we can't debunk it, it makes it that much better.
Yeah.
So there was something on the other side of this, like chairs, but the other wall or the other door was where the figure was standing. But yeah, this whole video and like I think we shot 2 live. There are on our Instagram. That's at Hex-Files Pod. They're on one of our posts back because they were an IG live that we posted as a thing. So you can find them on there. And then you can like that's where we like listen to the hay back and forth. But to get it on here, I just did the screen record. So it should be a little bit easier for you if you want to go back to that. But yeah, we've already had some listeners that like played back that stuff and was like, did you hear this? Did you see this? And it was like, did you hear this little tamping on the metal? And I was like, that was probably my jacket button or like the backpack like buckle. But it's cool because it's like we knew that, but you know, it helps to have other people review your stuff because
And everybody has a different set of senses.
Right.
Even when you're in the same room, you don't experience the same thing the same way.
yeah, if I would have listened back, I didn't hear that hay, I would have been like, oh, that sounds cool, but that's just a fucking
Yeah.
but at the time you were like, oh, I heard that. So that made me think, okay, well maybe there's something a little bit more to this.
Stuff does be saying hey to me sometimes.
Right, you do
so.
be seeing some shit.
Why don't you smile?
Oh.
That was a joke. Sorry. Bad. Anyways, well, thank you everyone for coming out.
Yes, thank you everybody.
We want to do this stuff more often. One more time, I'm Jason with SpookyCLT. But we also have a podcast now, which is called the Old North State Podcast, where we talk more so about North Carolina history. But I can't help but talk about ghost stories, so they're in there pretty much every episode too.
Yeah.
Your stuff.
And then so we're Hex-Files. We are found everywhere you find podcasts. Again, we talk about ghosts and shit, Bigfoot, aliens. And then I have a witchcraft podcast, which is Cursed, which this is how this started. It was a bonus episode. And then we were like, oh, it just kind of took off while we started investigating and everything. But yeah, we've gone to Brown Mountain Lights, things like that. So a cool stuff, and a lot of the stuff we do is in North Carolina. So it's so cool to like kind of do local stuff and to work with somebody. And I think we have tried to like plan some investigations together coming up. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm consistently having businesses reach out to me now saying that they think their place is haunted. And
Now
it's
that they
always the
know
coolest
everybody,
stuff, too.
yeah.
So now I know someone with equipment instead of a Boy Scout compass. It's a
Hey, a compass works.
You're the best tool.
Especially, you're the tool.
You are the tool.
Well, we appreciate everybody showing up and actually staying through it.
Thanks, guys.
What the
And
heck?
right, our janky presentation of like 5 pictures and 2 videos, but
We made it work.
Well,
Right.
I wanted to do jazzy transitions and like sound effects, like a proper PowerPoint. But
right, like they spin in and out, and there's like little
like the fade.
right, and then we can put stickers and little like clip art in there.
But no.
You'll guess you'll have to come next time.
Yeah, next time we'll do a whole PowerPoint. Okay,
keep
so
Thank you.